Welcome to US Tzu Chi 360. I'm Ginger Chang. Today, I report to you from Dallas, Texas, here at the annual Tzu Chi Leadership Development Camp. Tzu Chi stands for Tzu Chi Collegiate Association. Joining us today is Brad Yan, who is the main coordinator and currently the advisor at the Cornell chapter. Welcome, Brad.
Hi, Ginger.
So, first off, I understand that you've been a Tzu Chi alumni since the year 2000. Then can you tell us, why did you decide to continue on and even take on the role to be the advisor at the Cornell chapter?
By 2000, I actually moved to Florida to pursue my graduate study. So, but by that time, I already get involved in Tzu Chi for 6 years. So to me, I've been touched and also by Tzu Chi, domestic teaching, and also so many wonderful Tzu Chi volunteers around the world. In 2007, I moved to a city close to upstate New York, which is not far from Cornell University. So I was actually very excited to have the opportunity to able to accompany and advise local Tzu Chi.
Then, compared to when you first started off, the Tzu Chi generation today is very different. And on top of that, they grew up in America. So can you tell us, how do you present Tzu Chi to appeal to them?
Yeah, it's kind of really tough. When I came to this country in 2000, I met this Tzu Chi, they all talk English. And then I turned around, talked to the commissioner, they all talk in Mandarin. And you naturally can see the difference between the two groups. And I realized that it's really hard for the more senior volunteer to pass on Tzu Chi spirit to this younger generation. But in the meantime, I also realized, a lot of young people, they still love Tzu Chi because they wanted to do good deeds.
Well, it's good that you mentioned there are some students who are willing to answer their call to service. So let's go meet the various people at UC San Diego who joined Tzu Chi.
When I first entered college, UCSD, I didn't really know what to do. And a lot of times my aunt, she would ask me like, oh yeah, did you do your work? What are you doing other than work? I'd be like, I'm watching like anime, or I'm like playing games.
My mother was involved mainly during my high school years, my teen years. And I kind of like stayed away and avoided it because I didn't want to volunteer when I was a kid.
She's like, you should do something better. And then I'd be like, what is there to do,
I was just visiting a friend.
He visited my house, and
her mom is one of the main members in the Tzu Chi San Jose branch.
that weekend we had a Tzu Chi event up in the north.
I'm staying with them, and they're providing me hospitality in terms of food and housing. I would, the least I could do was help them out with a volunteering event, so.
She would always just come back to the fact that like, you should join Tzu Chi.
I didn't know there would be people around my age volunteering. Like, it was my mom basically trying to push me into it.
So Alexander is basically the one that pretty much dragged me into Tzu Chi.
All I knew was it was some charity organization from Taiwan. And I was like, why would I join that?
I got involved because I grew up in a Tzu Chi family.
In high school, I would think doing Tzu Chi volunteering is more for my mom.
Once I got to college, I actually wholeheartedly wanted to volunteer.
When I entered college, I would think it was more for myself.
The first Tzu Chi event I attended was a vegetarian cooking class. After that event, everyone was really friendly, so it kind of changed my perspective about how events can be like.
I was pretty open to the idea of going to volunteer in San Francisco, but I do think that she did a lot to make sure that I was active in the San Diego chapter.
Membership is expanding based on the fact that the friends of the Tzu Chis pass on the message.
I've seen a lot of growth in terms of what we've been able to accomplish, as well as the member body and officer cabinet, so.
Since my very first event, I started liking it more and more, so I just became very active in Tzu Chi, and that's where it's gone from there.
When I first joined Tzu Chi at UCSD, it was a pretty small officer cabinet and an even smaller member body.
At first, when I joined Tzu Chi, it was a bit more difficult too, because I didn't know how to reach out to people. I didn't know how to approach people about an org they've probably never heard of.
Before, we were completely content with just getting any member we could, and it just so happened that they'd always be Taiwanese, and maybe they'd heard about Tzu Chi before, but we wanted the public to know that we're like any other volunteer organization. We just want to help people.
How do we get more people to come in Tzu Chi? Well, I mean, there's the standard way of, going out to library walk and flyering.
Flyering on library walk is probably the most important, but also the hardest thing to do for a lot of Tzu Chings.
Flyering involves us mainly not dressed in uniform because we are concerned that if we're just all in uniform, we might scare some potential members away. They're just like, oh, you have to be in uniform to be in the club, maybe not. We ask if they're interested in volunteering, interested in protecting the environment, saving the earth. Usually to attract members on the flyers, it always says free food because we get free food at the orientation. As for my own opinion to flyering, I'm not the greatest person for talking to strangers.
I don't take rejection very well. It should be something that you pretty much expect it from like everyone that walks by. But when you reach out with a flyer in your hand, you're like, do you want to come to our this orientation we have this Friday? Some people don't even look at you.
There are some people in our officer cabinet who don't do that, and what they do is just they don't come out to tabling.
Seeing people pretend to talk on their cell phones and walk away, I don't know, rejection's just hard. From flyering, we may get like maybe 30 to 50 or more prospective new members. But I believe as long as we get one dedicated member that will stay in Tzu Chi, I believe that is worth it.
Yeah, at a meeting, or we call them orientations, of course we have to introduce the officers, what we do, letting the members understand what the organization is about and what to expect from the org. But definitely we try to do it in an interactive manner, and we do sharings, get to hear other people's experiences when they're volunteering, and of course those icebreaker games we play to get to know one another better.
I think the more important part after that usually is like keeping people to stay in.
A lot of people's, including my own, their initial impression is that the club is pretty exclusive. Like, it's a religious and racially motivated organization, I guess so.
I invited a few friends to come over to our events, and they were like, "Oh, what kind of organization is this?" And I say it's a Buddhist-founded organization.
It's really hard to extricate that part of the organization from the volunteering, but you will definitely find that that's not what the club is about if you attend events. Tzu Chi is also, very strict. You can't eat except for in a certain manner. You have to dress in a certain way, obviously, since there's a uniform.
In the beginning, when I first joined Tzu Chi, I really didn't like it. I thought it was very restrictive, and I didn't understand why we needed to wear uniforms.
But it's because we have to represent Tzu Chi.
What's great is that everyone's doing the same thing.
Everyday life, you have to dress all nice and try to, impress other people. But if you're in Tzu Chi, everyone's wearing the same thing. Nobody is better than anyone else.
Like I said before, the bottom line is that they're just volunteering. They're trying to help people.
A lot of Tzu Chi is, I think, building bonds, because building bonds was really essential for me to keep coming out. I came out to these events because I knew I would meet these people again, and they were awesome people.
There's so many opportunities to be with other very dedicated, very enthusiastic youth and volunteers.
It'll work out, and I'm pretty sure in the next few years the club will be much more open to members.
I guess I feel like Tzu Chi, even though it is an Asian club, it is very welcoming, and people try to be very understanding of your background and your culture.
You meet very great people in here.
The theme for this year's conference was Pursuit of Happiness, Time, Space, and Interpersonal Relationships. With this in mind, Brad, while you're supporting younger generation, you're very busy yourself as a research engineer. So can you tell us, how do you manage to balance or manage to juggle in a career and personal life and volunteer work?
I feel like I benefit from my previous college teaching experience a lot, because I actually was in mechanical engineering, and it was actually very tough. And can you imagine that over at night I had to contact or join Tzu Chi event until 10 o'clock. So by the time I started to study, it's like 10:30 or 11. And I often had to finish my homework or prepare for exam until like 1 o'clock. In the process, I definitely learned how to manage my time much better.
Well, clearly you've been able to make the personal commitment. However, one of the challenges right now is the question of retaining graduates. Then how can we improve the system?
Many commissioners and also local volunteers, they are most in their 50s, sometimes 60 or even 70s. So quite naturally, there's a generational gap between the younger, I'm talking about people in their 27 or low 30s. So if you only have like 2 members like in their low 30s and then the other 70 members are in their like 50, 60, of course, you can imagine that it can be tough for those 2 younger generations to fit in. So my thinking is that we definitely, especially from a local Tzu Chi chapter's perspective, to establish a more welcoming environment. Either you can assign a more understanding advisor, or quite possibly assign like an advisor in the low 40s. Now, I'm not saying that age is definitely a factor here, but likely they will be able to understand younger people better and create a more welcoming environment for them.
Well, it's certainly not easy to do what you want to do without the right support. So let's go take a break and see what the UC San Diego Tzu Chis had to say about retention and continuing after graduation.
Tzu Chis that were very active during their years at UCSD. As alums, they came out maybe a couple more months after they graduated, and what often happens is they just drift away from Tzu Chi because they don't know a lot of the new people or they don't keep themselves involved. They feel like they don't belong as Tzu Chis anymore.
We haven't really seen a lot of alumni participation.
Over the years, they may have realized their commitment to Tzu Chi, but many are still hesitant about whether or not they have time to stay in Tzu Chi after college.
They are ostensibly called Tzu Chi alumni, but how long does that alumni status really last?
The current members always tell me how there's always like an alumni group, but there's no central they don't meet up. They kind of are scattered everywhere.
We aim to be a lasting organization, but while they definitely understand the importance, it is also a great pressure to be told that they're expected to be the next generation of something that sometimes they may not have fully grasped.
As of now, I think 1 out of 10 graduate Tzu Chi eventually become a certified commissioner.
The Shikusibo themselves have been devoted to Tzu Chi for so long. They feel an essential obligation to Tzu Chi Foundation. However, Tzu Chis differ a little in that they joined this as a collegiate club.
The great things Master Chen Yan created for us, you will not be able to last long if we don't do something different.
If we don't come up with concrete solution, try to tackle it, try to solve it, we will never grow as an organization.
I am packing for Dallas. That's very soon, and I don't want to be there without stuff that I need. I feel like this Dallas Tzu Chi camp is a really great step towards trying to keep people involved in Tzu Chi between the Tzu Chis and the Sigusibo's age.
Our goal is to give them practical knowledge about how to run a Tzu Chi club, and also, more importantly, get a spirit teaching from Master Chen Yan.
Expectations? I don't have that many expectations. I just know that there's going to be classes and lectures, and probably a lot of new people to meet.
We invite either current or coming officer from different chapters and different regions to come to this event.
The first large-scale TC camp I actually went to was last year in Hualien, and I really, really liked it. I thought I wasn't going to because of the horrible schedules that were involved, like waking up at 4:30 in the morning. But then I did, and I met a lot of new people. And this time I'm a group leader, so hope I meet lots of new people, actually get to be a part of the team that makes it happen this time. That's good.
The best way to connect with friends that I meet throughout the chapter, the different chapters, is going to these camps. Friends I've met like 2 years ago, they will be attending, so I'm really excited to see them.
When they get together, they feel the strength of seeing, wow, there's so many like us, you know, and they get more inspired.
For someone who wishes to be more passionate or take on a bigger responsibility in Tzu Chi, that they can have a conference to attend and to learn from each other.
You learn so much about the organization that you want to get more involved with it and get to know it more.
There is this thing called spirit battery in Tzu Chi, which is every time after a camp you feel supercharged and you want to do everything and anything, you know. But that spirit battery kind of dies a little over time. Camps like Dallas would actually help that a lot.
We want these attendees to be able to return to their chapters and reiterate and then some.
You know, that's why we have a lot of workshops, and we tell them how to recruit. We tell them how to, you know, organize the Tzu Chi.
At the retreat and conference, you know, everybody is kind of on the same page because you kind of put aside all this personal issue and focus on what is meaningful about the life.
We try to have more interaction in the session. People break down to talk about their point. So everyone, they get to express their idea, ask their own question. We reduce the just plain speech type. Even in every speech, we always want to have Q&A session.
Expectations for Siku Supo, use more English. Every single year, I'm saying it, use more English.
There's nothing wrong with them. They're perfect. However, there's some faults, all right, such as they'll be maybe a little pushy sometimes, you know, telling you to do this and that. Don't tell them I said that, okay, when they come back in, okay?
The attitude, Tzu Chi's the attitude thing, I mean, that's just not the Tzu Chi thing, it's the young people things, you know.
Tzu Chis tend to be more blunt about their opinions, and we like that. That's how we get great feedback.
How to improve 那个 relationship 呢？哈，这是我们需要去耕耘哈。慈青有时候有的活动是由他们去 in charge， 师姑师伯要用补位的角色，就是配合的角色，让他们 totally in charge.
When they explain their process, they don't explain it. It's either, yes, this is Tzu Chi, go ahead and do it, or no, this is not Tzu Chi. And there's no like back rationale. Like, we understand you did all this work, let me go through it with you.
那如果有某一些地方我们觉得我们应该修改的，我们就要用非常尊重、非常有礼貌的方式，用引导的方式来guiding他们。这样的话，他们就觉得很有成就感哈。这是我们师姑师伯应该要注意的地方。
I did notice that some of the suggestions from the collegiate volunteers tend to be more aggressive than those of the senior members, but I believe it comes from each side approaching the path with a different priority. In the end, I feel that it is also because there is this gap that we recognize the need for them to communicate.
我们发现，其实我们的孩子哈，真的就是像上人说的，我们要用那个妈妈的心哈，用菩萨的智慧来陪伴他们。
Of course, not to spoil them, but mostly if they can accommodate their need to make them feel support and love, they will. Because Tzu Chi is like the future of the Tzu Chi.
A lot of the volunteers are maybe 20, 30 years older than the Tzu Chi, and so communication's an issue. Language might also be another issue as well.
The Tsugus and Tsubos will speak in Mandarin to members, and then the members will let them know that they don't speak Mandarin, and that happens a lot, and we'll say, oh, you know, that's something that'll be resolved when we're, you know, the Tsugus Tsubos, when we're the advisors.
Even though we ask the Tsugu Tsubos to speak English, they are already at an age where it's almost impossible for them to be able to speak it fluently.
So part of the role for Tzu Chi alumni in the US is being able to bridge that gap between the Siku Siku and the Tzu Chi.
I feel like a lot of times when we talk to the Siku Sibos, it's just out of courtesy, and it's really hard to communicate completely and honestly with them because we don't have that connection yet.
It's not a small gap, it's really quite a large gap. The alumni can play the mediator to help us So in Boston chapter, so we start concentrating on the alumni development, and then we see some fruit come out nicely because it's a second nature for the alumni to fill in the gap.
Everything starts with a seed of determination, and Tzu Ching's and alumni in Sigu Sibo's have achieved so much that we had previously felt was impossible. When I read a book about Master Chen Yan's challenges and how she overcame so many obstacles that no one would have ever thought to touch with a 10-foot pole, and if at 72 years old she can do this right now, us as young professionals and collegiate students, why can't we?
Diverse group, and even though we have a lot of ideals that we share, we also have a lot of ideals that, differ, and I think that's just part of what makes Tzu Chi so great.
When we're tired and we think we can't carry on with Tzu Chi, all we need to know is that it's a good path to be on, and we don't need to constantly be on it. It's just we know that we can always come back to it.
Shared some things that I've never shared with anyone else.
I am starting to look for jobs, and I definitely want to continue on the Tzu Chi path. I want to become a Tzu Chi commissioner at some point.
A lot of the advisors, they watched me grow up, and they've really been there for me ever since I was little. Now that time has passed, I get to interact with them too.
Tzu Chi was established in 1992 with the purpose to encourage more young civic engagement to carry on Tzu Chi's missions of charity, education, culture, and medicine. Brad, at the conference this time, you guys were able to come up with some solutions. Then what do you personally plan to do?
They are hoping to establish a database that can help younger alumni to help to getting a job. So quite a few alumni they express they are a huge difficulty for them to secure a job. Imagine this: if they can't even find a job, how can you ask him to spend another 3 or 4 hours over the weekend to contribute? It's just so hard. So I think it's really touch to see the advisors and doing this.
Would you like to offer any words to the current Tzu Chings and future Tzu Chings in how they can carry Tzu Chi spirit?
When I was driving, I listened to Master's teaching. So my suggestion to the new or younger alumni is definitely to observe Master teaching, either through books, through video, and also through group discussion. Kind of observing the teaching, we likely can live a better life and also find many solutions in the difficulties that you may encounter in your life.
Well, Brad, I really hope the young Tzu Chings take your words to heart. And thank you very much for being here with us today.
It's my honor.
My team and I would also like to personally thank the local Dallas volunteers. I'm Ginger Chang, signing out of Dallas, and I'll see you next week.